Podcast Father TV Network. I'm your host, Michael, the mediator. Today we're doing something different. We're bringing one of the legends of the Dallas Metroplex. I mean, so often we see great entertainment and we see the great football games and all that, but sometimes we need to meet sometimes the individual behind such grand events in which we enjoy so often. Today, I would like to introduce one of the legends of, 20, 30, 40 years or longer, Mr. Al Walsh this day. Mr. Walsh, how you doing today, sir?
Fine, and you?
I'm doing well,
Good.
Thank you very much. I'm going to get out the camera because I've learned many years ago, I stay out of celebrity spotlight, so this is your 15 minutes of fame with us, okay?
All right, thank you.
But Mr. Walsh, as I alluded to in the question, you've been in the industry for many, many years. Exactly when did you get started and how did you get started in this industry?
Well, it's a long story, but I started, about 40 years ago.
Wow.
And it's a funny thing, this story is that where I'm sitting today, the first entertainer that I promoted in this industry, this is where he was sitting when I cut the deal with him. That was Johnny Taylor.
Mr. Johnny Taylor.
And this was his office.
Right.
And I bought his building, and it was the first show that we had ever done before. And didn't know what we were doing, spent too much money, put people on the show that shouldn't have been on the show, and it just happened that we made a little money, and from there it's like we started doing blues shows, and everybody started talking about them blues boys.
Right.
And we ended up doing about 15. We did about 15 shows in a row, and those 15 shows in a row, we made money on the first 15 shows. Sometimes I say if I'd have lost money, I never would have stayed in this business.
Right. Because it's definitely a rocky business, huh?
It's up and down, and times change.
Right.
And what you're doing, what everyone's doing, everything changes.
It really is, and I think being a pioneer in the business, I guess a twofold question is, what do you contribute to be the reason why it's, number one, you've done it for so long, so successful, and what are some of the major changes that you have observed in the industry now 40 years later?
Well, first of all, I love what I'm doing. I wouldn't be in it this long if I didn't like it. And I think that's the main thing. And as far as the changes, you just have to adapt with the changes. You have to keep younger people around you, and they keep you up on what's happening. And I got a lot of kids around me, So,
Right.
So, and they keep me informed on, social media. 40 years ago, we didn't even have mobile phones.
Right. We still had the rotary phone. Huh?
Yeah.
Right.
So, today, it's like everything's changing. Everything's with social media today. So, you have to stay up on the industry and what's going on.
Right, because quite often you hear people say they're on the grind in the music industry, and I laugh about it because today's grind now is purely social media. They can be a nobody today and global tomorrow. And
Well,
like
that's
you said, social
true.
media.
But I think the most unique thing with me is that I keep doing the same thing that got me here. I'm old school.
Right.
And I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm going to also implement the new things that everybody is talking about. So I think with doing that, your audience will stay with you, your older audience, and you have newer people to come in. And that's, and plus, I guess the thing that I do more things that I love and try to stay up under the radar of the big companies, like the AEGs and the Live Nation, who has all the money they need and can do whatever they can go get a Beyonce and give her, $2 million a night. It's not real for us. So we have to be able to keep the type of entertainment that we can afford.
Right, and I like that. It's very key. But then it's one thing you said, interest is adjusting. In this industry, there's been, like you said, 40 years of changes, and I'm a spring chicken to a certain degree, but I'm on this side of 50 also. let's talk about, like you said, the Johnny Taylors, the blues, and then the transition into the today's market. What are some of the learning curves that you, since you love it so much, that you enjoyed learning through this process 40 years later? Some of your moments that you can recall, like, ooh, like you just said, had I lost money, I'd have never stayed in this industry. What are some of the learning curves that made you really keep that passion 40 years later?
Well, I think most of all is just, like I said earlier, it's for the love of the game, and being able to come up with new and fresh ideas that make people still buy tickets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just doing concerts. I do classic football game. We have this past year we was ranked number 3 in the classic games with Grambling and Prairie View in the Cotton Bowl. We're involved in Festival of Praise with Fred Hammonds and Hezekiah Walker and Perthquake, that's doing 50 cities across the country. Even with something new that we think will set a pattern and set the bar a little bit higher on the play industry. Is the next play is Love Jones, and it has a great cast in it, and we just went on sale in a couple of markets, and it's proven that it's going to do well. So if we can keep doing different type of entertainment and keep the industry, some of the things that I've been involved with over the years, a lot of people don't even know, like Universal Soul Circus. I'm the first one to ever come up with $1 to put in Universal Soul Circus. And I got tired of feeding them lions and tigers and those animals. They eat a lot.
They eat a whole lot, right?
When we look at the Universal Soul Circus, the Steve Harveys of the world, the Kirk Franklin, the Tyler Perry, I've been involved with all those guys.
Wow.
So, and I think I'm always a believer that there's another one out there that would be greater than them.
Right.
And with me is finding that next person that would be greater. No doubt about it, once we get them up to here, they're going to go and go to the Live Nations, AEG. But I'm not one that's going to sit there and say, oh man, I started him and he'd have ran off and left me, we just find someone else.
Right, right. And speaking of that, you have some fresh new stuff coming up in 2016 and 2017. Any of those things you can share what they are and where they be, the next cities or state that you're doing new adventures in?
Well, I just did with the Festival of Praise. That starts in October,
Okay.
The Love Jones, that start in September, and it'll run through May of next year. So, and there's some things that we love jazz. So we have a jazz series, and my wife owns a theater here that we are one of the promoters, the producers that we co-produce shows with her over there. We do it in San Antonio with the military. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to do, because with military, the suicide rate, the divorce rate is so high. It's kind of like when you talk about the fathers and things, same things happening with the military. So that's where we'll come in, and we'll bring in black entertainment, because they got the country and western, they got the hard rock in the middle, but they don't have the black entertainment that we are accustomed to give them on the military base. And these kids are getting younger, it's more blacks joining the military, so they have to have something to entertain them.
Right.
On the same thing, you look at most of the crime and most of the shooting, these kids out of the military. So we brainwashing them to go and fight for our country, but then you never bring them back to society to say, hey, it's time for you to go back into the real world.
Right.
You're just going to dump them out there.
Right.
And they can't adapt to the real world anymore.
Right. That I totally agree with you. That's one of the things I was thinking of as you was talking about. You know, here on Dad's Fathers TV network, we cater to, as we mentioned, those fathers, those men who are going through those turbulent times. As a father and as a business professional, what advice that you can say both as a professional and as a parent that you can share with those guys to, number one, pursue their goals, pursue their dreams, and what you have done, not only to love, but what you have done that you can tell them to keep doing to get to, for lack of better words, your status as a businessman?
Well, that one is a hard answer because everybody is not the same. Everyone can't adapt to hard times, you know. Sometimes a person will give up, and that's the first mistake. Never give up, because if you're out there and if you're working towards, you know, whatever you're striving for, it will come around eventually. If you're sincere and you love what you're working towards. I just happen to love the entertainment business. Now, if I was out there and I was in a different type of business, would I still have, and I've been in restaurant business, I've been in the security business, you know. I used to own a restaurant, and when I closed the restaurant, I checked myself in the hospital. I thought I was having a heart attack. Man told me that's stress.
That's stress, yes.
You know,
I was in the restaurant business. It is stress.
and I've never have adapted to stress before like that. You know, security business, a lot of employees, and you have to stay on top of them. And if they don't show up, you got to get out to bed and go cover this property. And I just didn't like it. You know. I mean, it made money, but I just didn't like what I was doing, you know. But now the entertainment business, it's I love it. So find something that you love first of all, you know. Find something that you can say, this is mine. And if you do that, I think that person will stay in it and really accomplish something that he or she is really wanting to accomplish in their life.
Right. I agree. Just find something and get committed to it.
Right.
Commitment, right. Well, I appreciate you doing the interview. In closing, I would like for you to give a word, what I always call a word of wisdom for those who are seeking wisdom. Because we know where there's knowledge and understanding, they're able to make wiser decisions. So as it relates to business, as it relates to parenting, or whatever you say, it's about 17,000 young men that will see your interview. What word of wisdom, on top of what you have said, can you incite to them for them to not only not give up, but to continue to pursue and stop what I call the madness that we're going through nowadays, with all the disputes?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say it starts at home, you know, and by it starting at home, you have to be able to abide and listen to your parents, your mother, your father. Don't matter if you don't have a mother, if you don't have a father, if it's a single parent or grandparent. Listen to the adult that you're living up under their roof, and be able to share in what you want to do in your lifetime, you know, and be able to talk it out and find you a mentor. My son has a mentor, you know, and I hear him all the time talking about, Dad, I'm going to go meet with my mentor. And I said, dang, I thought I was his mentor. But I think that's a plus, to have more than one person that you can talk to and you can rely on, that give you good, solid advice.
Very much, very so. Well, we're going to conclude, and for those who don't know you, how can they find out your future shows, future events? I know you said you got someone doing the technology stuff there, but you got your website or anything special that they can log on and keep in touch with your enterprise?
The name of our company is ALW Entertainment, so you can always go to www.alwe.com, and you can find all of our shows, all the information about our company and what we exactly do here.
walk over here. And this is informal for me, but I wanted to make it all about Mr. Walsh because he don't know it, but I've been a fan from a distance for, wow, I started my first TV show 5 years ago. And when I figure out about your game at the Fairport, I start from a distance paying attention, and I've admired some of the things you've done. So I wanted to make this about Mr. Walsh because we know he's the father of our community. He has set the groundwork that none of us have any excuses. 40 years in the business, he had his ups, he had his downs, he has a family. He have experienced what we, this generation and those that are after me, we're going to go through it. But the key word he said was find something that you enjoy. Find something that you can do and enjoy it. You know, because working hard don't always have to be hard labor. You just have to enjoy it. And as he has said on camera, he has so many other things coming up. Log on to his website, keep in touch with him, and move forward. Because as he mentioned, you know, transitioning, whether it's from military, whether it's from school, whether it's from a new job, a transition is a transition. And not everybody's going to be the Jordans or the Beyoncés, but not everybody have to experience a prison life either. And here's a fine example of someone who's been in our community way before the ones you know of the, you know, the Dallas Black, the Party Chasers. He's been around 40 years. Most of those guys are not even 40 years old. Truth be told. So if you want to learn on how to be alone in a business, here's an example right here. So I'm Mike the Mediator, a little bit different than what I do because I wanted to make sure we talk to a living legend in our community that's doing exceptional. Mr. Al Walsh, I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
And I look forward to talking to you more and learning more. I got me a new mentor now, so thank you, sir.
Thank you.